This is Arise America.
Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense has thanked the US government for reaffirming its support for Taiwan and its commitment to the island's defense and national security. President Joe Biden said yesterday that the US would intervene militarily if China were to invade Taiwan, declaring the commitment to protect the island is even stronger after Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Thank the United States for continuing to assist Taiwan in maintaining sufficient self-defense capabilities and ensuring peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait and the region based on the Taiwan Relations Act and the 6 guarantees. We will be firm in our determination to protect our country and people, and we will continue to work closely with the United States and other like-minded countries to jointly defend the value of democracy and freedom, and maintain peace, stability, and prosperity in the Taiwan Strait.
Well, let's cross live now to Washington, D.C., where we're joined by Rise US correspondent Eric Ham. Eric, good to see you. We saw the meeting of the Quad leaders has taken place. What more do we know following the meeting?
Well, we now know that the President of the United States has completed his official trip to the Indo-Pacific, and he has left Alaska. The President is now en route back to Washington, D.C. But of course, we know that the final day in Japan was certainly a very busy day. And we know that the President held bilaterals with the India Prime Minister Modi, as well as the new incoming Prime Minister for Australia. In addition to that, we know that there was a meeting of the Quad nations. And of course, many were watching to see how the president would interact with the incoming Prime Minister Albanese of Australia, but also many were watching for the meeting and the back and forth between President Biden and Prime Minister Modi of India as well. India, we know, has been, some would say, tepid in its response regarding Russia and Ukraine. And we know that was certainly on the table for the meeting today and for the bilateral was to discuss this. We saw both of the leaders actually give a joint statement and speak to the press about their meeting. And they both spoke very glowingly about each other, about the commitment they have to democracy and the commitment to both countries. In addition to that, the president also continued to wave the banner on working closely with India to provide a vaccine production and supplies, as well as working on providing additional support around security and climate change as well. The issue of Russia and Ukraine certainly came up. But again, right now, what we have not seen or what has yet to be done is there wasn't great commitment about what India would do or is prepared to do regarding Russia. But nevertheless, what we saw today was still a very close relationship, even though there may be some trepidation from India to move as far as the United States would like. We do know that the meeting between President Biden and President Modi lasted for about 40 minutes. Their bilateral meeting did. And of course, we did get the statement from the Quad leaders, which, of course, that we're told that was a very productive meeting. And there were a number of issues that were discussed in that meeting. Of course, the top being the issue of COVID and continuing to try to combat COVID, but also security, as well as providing economic support to each country as well.
So the president's visit has come to an end. I mean, how would you sum up how successful was his first visit to Asia as president?
Well, I think many would see that this was a resounding success for the president, even though we did not see India go as far as the White House would like on Russia. Many did not expect that to be actually in the cards or on the table for this visit. But once again, what we saw was the president doubling down on key relationships and alliances with key partners and allies. Also, we saw the United States, not only affirm those relationships, but we saw those partnerships and alliances, strengthen, and of course, making clear that the Indo-Pacific is going to be an area that is going to be contested and that China will have competition, but not only competition from the United States, but competition from other key allies. One other key, I think, component of this was this new economic framework that the president announced while he was there. And while it's certainly meant to be a substitute for the United States pulling out of the Trans-Pacific Partnership under President Trump, what we still see is that the president and also the United States now attempting to plant a flag or plant a stake in the Indo-Pacific on an economic framework. And I think what we're seeing here is this was seen as very, very successful for the president and also just a continued investment on the ground. I think one key takeaway from this was there was not any hint of provocation from either China or from North Korea, which many will see as a very welcome sign. In fact, the only sign of provocation came from the United States with those comments from President Biden about its support of Taiwan. But nevertheless, those comments certainly did not come out of left field because, of course, we've heard President Biden make those same claims about a year ago, but we also have heard previous presidents make those same claims as well. So I think the president comes away from this trip very happy with the outcome. But also, I think moving forward as we look to next year, where we know Japan will actually be the head of the G7, I think what you see here is the president again doubling down on these key alliances and key partnerships, but also I think massive takeaways for its continued efforts to try to broker a ceasefire or a deal to work with Ukraine on trying to find ways to push back on Russia.
Now, Eric, as you say, he's had a successful trip to Asia. He's now flying back to Washington. I mean, what when he's landing, what's in store for him? Because obviously so many issues in the US, it's probably been a bit of respite, almost having time in Asia.
Oh, well, make no mistake about it. When the president touches down in Washington, there's going to be no shortage of fires that he will need to put out. Of course, there will be the midterm elections and the outcomes that the president certainly will be watching that will take place this evening. In addition to that, there's still the issue of Ukraine that is still on the table that the president is going to have to continue to navigate. And make no mistake about it, China's ambitions are still at the forefront for this administration, for this president. And of course, finally, and certainly not least of all, is the fact that there is growing concern that COVID is now becoming a major issue once again, with now cases ramping back up to approximately 100,000 new cases of COVID per day, and growing concerns that the United States is running out of money to combat the virus as it continues to spread across the nation, and the alarming rate of new cases of monkeypox. So no shortage of issues and fires for the president that he will have to confront, that he will have to deal with when he returns.
Well, Eric, we'll have to leave it there, but we'll certainly be speaking to you later about the latest from the midterm primaries that take place later. But for now, Eric Ham, Arise US correspondent in Washington, D.C.
This is Arise America.